So in this discussion today, I will be talking about ethics. Um, Basically, the definition of ethics is a moral principle that governs a person's behavior and also how they conduct themselves. Um, Basically, what that comes down to is what you believe is right from wrong, um, which also helps you conduct your daily tasks that get you through the day, and it also helps you make decisions on certain things. Um, Now, for me in particular, the last chapter, I felt like I learned a pretty good amount of things. Now, the two things that I felt were most prevalent to me were the objectivism and then also the subjective relativism. Um, I feel as if I have a very objectivist mindset when it comes to ethics. Um, it's very, in my opinion, objective on how people make their decisions. Everybody believes different things. Everybody was raised a different way. Everybody was taught different ways on how to conduct themselves. So that being said, um, I do personally feel that everybody should generally have a moral compass for the most part as to, murder isn't a good thing. Um, intentionally harming somebody isn't a good thing. Um, Intentionally hurting somebody's feelings isn't a good thing. But where I feel that I have a very subjective view is it's kind of hard to find an example, but the way I like to look at that is a lot of people have different mentalities on different things. People are in different places mentally, physically, emotionally, and that also influences your moral decisions as well sometimes, your state of mind. Um, so that being said, the subjective relative relativism, um, that's where I kind of get that from. I feel it's just that the understanding that there's people who have different mindsets, different upbringings, different views on things, so that kind of changes their view on morality and how decisions should be made and things that should be done. So that is what I felt that I took away the most from this one. I definitely felt that the cultural relativism was a little bit over the top, depending on the circumstance. I mean, in every culture, there's morals that kind of are spread throughout the entire culture and followed. But for instance, it was the Abdullah Yunus killed his 16-year-old daughter. That one I felt was a little bit over the top. Um, that, in my opinion, personally, ethically was wrong. For sure, shouldn't have killed his daughter for rebelling. Um, but yeah, that being said, I mean, that's just a very brief example, but I mean, things such as that, the extremes can be a little bit, in my opinion, over the top. But also, in week 2, we talked a little bit about moral arguments. Um, what I felt I took away from that the most is if you really want to have a moral argument, you really should have a valid argument, um, valid facts to back up whatever you're saying. Um, and you better make sure that your points are strong because, incidentally, the other person that you're probably having a moral argument with probably also has very strong beliefs. Um, I personally try to stay away from moral arguments. I just tend to keep my beliefs to myself. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, if you're going to try and get into an argument about morals, you definitely should have facts to back up and support what you're saying. And then on top of that, make sure that it's a very strong and compelling argument as well. Um, so, me personally, I currently work in the car business in sales, um, which a lot of people know if you have bought a vehicle before. Um, Not always the most morally straight place. Um, a lot of shady stuff happens behind the scenes, unfortunately. I try to not fall into that, Sometimes, it is very hard. For example, if someone has an imperfection on their car, the cars that we sell are within like the $60,000 range. So, me personally, morally, I feel that I should tell that person that, hey, there's something wrong with your car and we need to get that taken care of before you leave or whenever you come back. Whereas there's some people that I do work with who do feel that, they don't want to tell that person because that money comes out of their pocket, comes out of the sale, so on and so forth. It does kind of put you into a very uncomfortable situation for sure a lot of times, but I usually just try and do what I think is right. Whether or not my boss, my coworkers find that's right, I mean, that's up to them to decide. But my future career, I plan on becoming a radiologist, which is in the medical field, obviously, where, there's a lot of moral choices that you have to make. For this class, I feel like it's really given me a lot of insight on how to make better moral decisions. Also, it's also giving me a lot of insight on, ethical decisions and what's the right decision to make in a situation such as that. Now, with that being said, the subjective one definitely I feel like will come into play a lot with my future career when I do pursue that. A lot of big decisions are made in the medical field. It involves life and death usually. Well, hopefully not. But yeah, I mean, the subjective view that you need to have, it just needs to be what is in the best interest of the patient. So that being said, I mean, I always want to be able to provide someone with what is best for them and for their families and their loved ones. So you need to make the right ethical decisions, or it could lead to, terrible things happening to a person, and their loved ones will, feel those effects as well. So it is a pretty big burden. That being said as well, thank you for listening. I definitely feel like I'm learning a lot from this course. I hope everybody else is learning as well. And yeah, thanks for listening.